Let me help you overboard, Stowaway. The words slice through the night as hands forcefully push against a woman's back. The confrontation unfolds on the starlit deck of the Oceanic Splendor. Vanessa Hargrove, platinum status passenger with diamond-crusted fingers, has trapped Amara Brooks against the railing, the dark sea churning dangerously below. Security won't even file a report when trash like you disappears, Vanessa snarls, increasing pressure. No one believes black stowaways anyway. Amara's body tilts precariously over the edge as her fingers grip the cold metal railing. Her composed expression contrasts sharply with her dire situation. "Last chance to admit you don't belong here," Vanessa hisses, preparing for one final, fatal push. "Or you can test if stowaways float." What Vanessa doesn't realize is that she's just threatened a decorated Marine who's survived worse than entitled socialites. Lieutenant Colonel Amara Brooks steps onto the gangway of the Oceanic Splendor, exhaling deeply as ocean air fills her lungs. After 15 months of deployment, the Caribbean cruise represents her first real break. She adjusts her designer sunglasses and smooths her linen pants, looking like any other vacationer rather than a decorated Marine officer. At the check-in desk, Amara presents her ID and reservation details. The attendant's eyes flick between her face and the premium suite booking. "Just to confirm, that's the Sapphire Deck Presidential Suite?" The attendant's second glance doesn't go unnoticed. "That's correct," Amara replies evenly. Nearby, Vanessa Hargrove watches this exchange with narrowed eyes. Her husband, Thomas, stands beside her, absorbed in his phone. "They're letting anyone on these luxury cruises these days," Vanessa mutters, loudly enough to be overheard. "Standards are slipping dramatically." As Amara passes with her keycard, Vanessa shifts sideways, deliberately bumping into her shoulder. "Excuse you?" Vanessa snaps, despite causing the collision. "I apologize," Amara responds automatically, the discipline of military courtesy ingrained in her manner. Vanessa gives a dismissive huff before turning back to her husband. "Did you see that? So pushy." Later that evening, Amara enters the main dining room alone, transformed in an elegant navy evening gown. The captain rises slightly as she's escorted to his table, a courtesy extended to VIP guests. "Ms. Brooks, welcome aboard," he says, with a knowing glance at her reservation notes. "We're honored to have you with us." Vanessa, seated at a nearby table with her friends, watches this interaction with growing irritation. Her eyes track Amara throughout dinner, noting the deferential service she receives. When Amara excuses herself to the restroom, Vanessa follows. In the ornate bathroom, she positions herself at the adjacent sink, watching Amara's reflection. Vanessa's gaze drops to Amara's wristband, platinum level, the highest tier. "There must be some mistake with your band," Vanessa says coldly, running manicured fingers under the water. Amara meets her eyes in the mirror, then calmly dries her hands. "No mistake. Enjoying your evening?" Throughout this exchange, subtle signs of Amara's military background emerge. Her perfect posture, the efficient way she scans the room upon entering, her economy of movement. Nothing obvious, but the markers of someone trained to remain alert even while relaxed. Vanessa returns to her table, pulling out her phone to check something about the passenger manifest. The morning sun glints off the adults-only infinity pool as Amara settles into a cushioned lounger. She opens her book on marine biology, research for her upcoming board presentation on sustainable cruise practices. The peaceful moment is exactly what she needs after years of high-pressure deployments. Her tranquility shatters as Vanessa arrives with 3 friends, their laughter cutting through the calm atmosphere. Vanessa stops abruptly upon spotting Amara. "Standards are really slipping on this cruise line," she announces, voice pitched to Carrie. "I remember when certain areas maintained exclusivity." Vanessa approaches a young pool attendant, gesturing toward Amara. "Excuse me, is everyone allowed in this restricted area now?" The attendant glances nervously between them. "This is the premium infinity deck, ma'am. All guests here have appropriate access." Unsatisfied, Vanessa marches directly to Amara's lounger, designer heels clicking against the deck. This area is for premium guests only. I don't think you understand. Amara lowers her book, keeping her place with one finger. I understand perfectly. I need to see your key card, Vanessa demands, extending her hand. It's my responsibility as a Platinum Elite member to maintain standards. I'm not obligated to show you anything, Amara replies calmly, though tension tightens her jaw. You're not cruise staff. Vanessa's eyes narrow. She turns, waving over a security officer. Excuse me, I need to report suspicious activity. I believe this person has been entering cabins on my deck. The security officer approaches reluctantly. Is there a problem, ma'am? Yes, Vanessa declares. I've noticed valuable items missing, and now this person is in a restricted area. The officer turns to Amara apologetically. I'm sorry to disturb you, ma'am, but could I verify your key card? Without complaint, Amara produces her platinum card. The officer checks it and nods. Everything appears in order. Sorry for the inconvenience. There must be some mistake, Vanessa insists, color rising in her cheeks. Check again. The card is valid, Mrs. Hargrove. I apologize for the confusion. The officer retreats quickly. Humiliated but undeterred, Vanessa reaches for her cocktail and turns, accidentally spilling the contents across Amara's book. You should be careful with things that don't belong to you, Vanessa sneers, implying theft. A flash of controlled anger crosses Amara's face. As she sits up to dry her book, the movement reveals a small, jagged scar on her shoulder, evidence of shrapnel from a combat zone that civilian eyes might miss. As Vanessa walks away, Amara makes a brief note in her phone. Incident number 1, guest harassment unchecked by staff. Evening light streams through the Oceanic Splendor's grand atrium as Amara waits for the elevator to the captain's dinner. Her black evening gown contrasts elegantly with a simple silver necklace, her late mother's ring hanging from it as a pendant. Hidden beneath her neckline rest her dog tags, a habit she can't break after years of service. The soft chime of an approaching elevator sounds just as Vanessa's group rounds the corner. Vanessa stops, whispering something to her companions that prompts judgmental glances toward Amara. Are you lost? Vanessa calls out. Staff quarters are below deck. Her voice carries, drawing attention from other passengers waiting nearby. Amara continues facing forward, her expression neutral despite the deliberate provocation. Excuse me, I'm speaking to you, Vanessa persists, stepping closer. The help isn't allowed at formal events unless they're serving. The elevator doors slide open. As Amara moves to enter, Vanessa sidesteps in front of her, physically blocking her path. This is for guests only. Service elevators are that way. Vanessa points down a side corridor. Other passengers shift uncomfortably. A woman glances sympathetically at Amara but remains silent. A couple whispers to each other, eyes averted from the confrontation. A junior cruise officer in a white uniform approaches hesitantly. His name tag reads, Daniel Evans, Assistant Purser. His eyes dart between the women, recognition flickering as he identifies Amara as a guest, but his posture betrays uncertainty. Is there a problem here? He asks, voice lacking authority. Yes, Vanessa interjects before Amara can respond. This woman is trying to attend the formal dinner. She's clearly not a guest. Evans turns to Amara. Ma'am, do you have your key card? Amara reaches into her clutch, producing her platinum card. Vanessa snatches it from her hand before Evans can take it. This is obviously fake. Or stolen. Vanessa inspects the card with exaggerated scrutiny. The confrontation has now drawn a small crowd. 2 security officers watch from a distance but make no move to intervene. An elderly couple shakes their heads disapprovingly. Amara stands perfectly still, her military bearing evident in her controlled response. Return my property now. Evans, visibly flustered, extends his hand toward Vanessa. Mrs. Hargrove, please. You know me, Daniel, Vanessa cuts him off. I've been cruising with this line for 15 years. Trust me when I say something isn't right here. Evans swallows hard, then turns to Amara. Perhaps, ma'am, you could use another elevator? Just to avoid any confusion? His choice to appease Vanessa rather than enforce rules strikes Amara like a physical blow. The officer has essentially sided with harassment despite knowing it's wrong. As Amara turns to leave, dignity intact but anger building, Vanessa returns the keycard to Evans rather than its owner. She then adds, just loudly enough for nearby passengers to hear, "These stowaways are getting bolder every cruise." Amara pauses mid-step. Every muscle in her body tenses with the instinct to respond, years of combat training telegraphing through her perfectly controlled stance. When she speaks, her voice is quiet, but carries the unmistakable authority of command. "You'll regret that comment," she says simply, then walks away, her posture never faltering despite the public humiliation. In her suite, Amara removes her dog tags from under her dress, then makes a call. "Dad, I think it's time to move up our timeline on the Oceanic Splendor review." Amara sits at the mahogany desk in her suite, fingers moving rapidly across her laptop keyboard. The room's luxury contrasts sharply with her military precision as she documents the evening's events with clinical detachment. Incident number 2, 2025, 07:15, 1945 hours, confrontation at Deck 9 elevators. Perpetrator, Vanessa Hargrove, cabin E724. Witnesses, Assistant Purser Daniel Evans, Security Officers Ramirez and Chen. Badges clearly visible, did not intervene. Approximately 7 to 10 passengers. She records exact quotes, timestamps, and witness reactions with the thoroughness ingrained by years of military incident reporting. Nothing is exaggerated. Nothing is omitted. Amara opens a secure email, the header revealing her full identity. Lieutenant Colonel Amara Brooks, United States Marine Corps, Bronze Star recipient, currently on leave after deployment to classified operation zones. The email draft is addressed to the legal team at Brooks International Holdings, with subject line, Oceanic Splendor Cultural Assessment, Preliminary Findings. She reaches for her phone, pressing a single contact. The call connects immediately. "Dad," she says, her voice softening slightly. "We have a situation." Nathan Brooks's deep voice responds with immediate concern. "Are you all right?" "Physically, yes. But what I'm seeing confirms our suspicions about operational culture." Amara summarizes the incidents clinically, her father's occasional sharp intake of breath the only interruption. "This is outrageous," Nathan finally responds. "I'll have the captain—" "No," Amara cuts in firmly. "This is exactly why I wanted to travel incognito. The culture problems run deeper than we thought. I need to see how bad it gets when they think no one important is watching." She outlines her strategy to document everything before next week's board meeting, where significant operational changes will be proposed. "The staff's handling of discrimination will now be central to my report," she concludes. "This isn't just about passenger experience, it's about corporate liability." Nathan sighs heavily. "Your mother would be proud of your approach. She always said systemic problems need systemic evidence." "I learned from the best," Amara responds, touching the ring hanging from her necklace. Meanwhile, in her luxury suite, Vanessa sits before her vanity, scrolling through search results on her tablet. Amara Brooks yields limited results, a few academic publications on marine conservation, nothing revealing rank or status. "She must have used a fake name," Vanessa mutters. "People like her always have something to hide." Thomas Hargrove loosens his bow tie, watching his wife with evident fatigue. "Vanessa, perhaps it's time to let this go. She's just another passenger." "She embarrassed me in front of everyone," Vanessa snaps. "People like her need to learn their place. She doesn't belong in first class, and I'm going to prove it." Back in Amara's suite, she prepares for bed with military efficiency, clothes precisely folded, alarm set, room secured. A momentary flashback crosses her mind, directing her platoon through razor wire under heavy fire, her calm commands creating order amid chaos, saving lives when panic would have cost them. She touches her mother's ring, the cool metal centering her thoughts. Just like you taught me, Mom. Document everything, build your case, then strike decisively. Amara's expression hardens with resolve as she sets her phone to record voice and places it carefully in her pocket, ready for tomorrow's inevitable confrontations. Amara sets her phone to record, placing it in her pocket as she plans her movements for the next day. Morning sunlight streams through the culinary studio's windows as Amara enters the exclusive cooking class, limited to 20 premium guests. White chefs' coats hang on individual hooks, each embroidered with the Oceanic Splendor's gold insignia. Executive Chef Paolo welcomes each participant with professional warmth. Amara selects a station near the front, arranging her tools with methodical precision, a habit from field operations where equipment organization could mean life or death. Her phone rests in her pocket, recording. Vanessa arrives 10 minutes late, making a theatrical entrance that interrupts Chef Paolo's introduction. Her expression sours upon spotting Amara already positioned at a prime cooking station. "We'll be preparing Mediterranean specialties today," Chef Paolo announces. "Please familiarize yourselves with your ingredients while I demonstrate the proper technique for filleting sea bass." During the demonstration, Amara notices Vanessa watching her rather than the chef. When participants return to their stations to begin cooking, Vanessa selects the workstation directly behind Amara's. The class progresses smoothly until Amara steps away to collect fresh herbs from the central ingredient table. In that brief moment, Vanessa casually reaches over and turns Amara's induction cooktop from medium to high heat, then quickly returns to her station. Within minutes, Amara's olive oil begins smoking aggressively. Chef Paolo looks up, frowning. "Someone's temperature is much too high," he remarks, moving toward the smoke. "Some people clearly don't belong in a kitchen like this," Vanessa announces loudly. "Perhaps they're more accustomed to fast food preparation." Several guests chuckle uncomfortably. Chef Paolo reaches Amara's station, his expression hovering between concern and judgment. "Do you need extra help with temperature control?" he asks, his tone condescending rather than supportive. He glances at Vanessa, clearly reluctant to displease a known high-value guest. "No, thank you. I've got it." Amara quickly adjusts the heat and moves her pan aside to cool. Despite the sabotage, she remains composed, assessing the situation like a tactical challenge. She salvages her dish with practiced skill, demonstrating knife techniques that speak to extensive experience. Her movements are economical and precise as she creates a perfectly plated sea bass with saffron sauce. Vanessa, frustrated by Amara's competence, deliberately bumps into her while carrying a ladle of sauce. The red liquid splashes across Amara's white chef's coat. "Oh, now you look like you belong in the kitchen," Vanessa sneers. "Covered in stains." Chef Paolo laughs nervously, glancing between them. "Accidents happen," he offers weakly, then adds, "I can get you a replacement apron from our staff supply." Amara looks down at the stain, then directly into Vanessa's eyes. "I'm quite comfortable as I am," she replies, her steady gaze never wavering. As class ends, Amara receives a text from the ship's first officer. "Ms. Brooks, the captain requests a discreet meeting." Captain Robert Winters waits in his private office, naval decorations adorning the walls behind his desk. His 30 years at sea have left permanent creases around his eyes, deepened now by evident concern. When Amara enters, he rises immediately. "Lieutenant Colonel Brooks," he says quietly, extending his hand. "I appreciate your discretion." Amara takes the offered seat. "You know who I am." "Yes, corporate informed me this morning." He gestures to a confidential file on his desk. "Your military service is quite distinguished, as is your family connection to our parent company." "Then you understand I'm here to evaluate passenger experience," Amara states, watching his reaction carefully, "including how the crew handles incidents between guests." Captain Winters shifts uncomfortably. "Regarding Mrs. Hargrove's behavior, She's a Platinum Elite guest who books our owner's suite twice yearly. Her family accounts for over $50,000 in revenue per cruise. That explains the preferential treatment, Amara observes neutrally. We can move you to the owner's suite to avoid further incidents, he offers. It's currently unoccupied. Amara shakes her head. I'm exactly where I need to be. But I'm curious. How many similar incidents occur on your cruises? The captain's expression becomes evasive. Our customer satisfaction scores are excellent. 92% of guests rate their experience as outstanding. That wasn't my question, Amara presses. How many discrimination complaints have been filed in the past year? We handle all guest concerns with utmost... Captain, Amara interrupts quietly. I've reviewed 3 years of passenger complaints. I'm asking what percentage involved discriminatory behavior. He clears his throat. Perhaps we should discuss the upcoming ports of call instead. I've taken the liberty of arranging VIP excursions for... Later, at the pool bar, Amara sits alone nursing a sparkling water. The late afternoon sun casts long shadows across the deck as other guests begin preparing for dinner. The bartender has just served her when Vanessa approaches, accompanied by a security officer. That's her, Vanessa declares loudly. She has my Prada sunglasses. Guests nearby turn to watch the confrontation unfold. Ma'am, the security officer addresses Amara reluctantly. Mrs. Hargrove has reported missing property. Would you mind if I check your bag? Amara maintains her composure, aware of the public spectacle Vanessa is creating. Go ahead. The officer searches her tote bag carefully, finding nothing. Vanessa's expression hardens with frustration. They must be in her room, she insists. Designer items someone like you could never afford. The officer shifts his weight uncomfortably. Ma'am, we can't search cabins without evidence. Do you know who I am? Vanessa's voice rises. I could have your job with one call. The threat hangs in the air. The officer glances around, noting the gathering audience, then turns back to Amara. Ma'am, to clear things up, perhaps you would voluntarily allow a cabin search. It would resolve this matter quickly. Amara studies him, noting his name badge. Officer Taylor, that won't be necessary, but I'd like your name and position noted for my records. Taylor's eyes widen slightly before he retreats, muttering apologies as he leaves both women standing in tense silence. As Amara walks away, Vanessa tells her husband, I'm going to make sure she never sets foot on another cruise ship again. Green felt tables and the soft clinking of chips fill the Oceanic Splendor's casino. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the evening gamblers as Amara takes a seat at the high-stakes blackjack table. She places her chips with calculated precision, each bet measured and strategic. 20 minutes into play, Amara's chip stack has doubled. Her military training in probability assessment and risk management translates perfectly to card counting. Not illegal, though casinos discourage the practice. She maintains a pleasant expression, giving nothing away. From across the room, Vanessa watches. She whispers to a silver-haired man at the roulette table, then to a woman selecting slots. Within minutes, Vanessa has circulated throughout the casino, stopping beside various patrons with urgent murmurs. Watch your valuables around the Stowaway, she warns one couple. Security is already investigating her. Glances shift toward Amara. The atmosphere changes subtly as Vanessa's poison spreads through the room. The casino manager approaches Amara's table. He's a thin man with an artificial smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Madam, may I speak with you? He asks quietly. Amara collects her chips. Is there a problem? We'd appreciate if you'd cash out for the evening, he responds, voice lowered. No accusations, of course, but we've received concerns. What concerns specifically? Amara presses. The manager's eyes dart toward Vanessa. Just a matter of other guests' comfort. Rather than create a scene, Amara nods and proceeds to the cashier. As she exits, she overhears snippets of Vanessa's ongoing commentary. Not even a real guest. And security is investigating her background. Seeking fresh air, Amara heads to the upper deck. The night has cleared to reveal brilliant stars reflected in the dark Caribbean waters. Most passengers are at evening events, leaving the observation area nearly deserted. Footsteps sound behind her. Vanessa approaches alone, her evening gown shimmering under the deck lights. "I know what you are," she hisses, stopping uncomfortably close to Amara. "You don't belong here, and I've made sure everyone knows it." Amara turns, facing her accuser directly. "And what exactly am I, Ms. Hargrove?" "A fraud, a stowaway, someone who snuck onto this ship pretending to be something you're not." The confrontation escalates as Vanessa steps closer, blocking Amara's path to the door. When Amara attempts to move past, Vanessa grabs her arm with surprising force. "People like you need to learn respect," Vanessa snarls, shoving Amara toward the railing. "Maybe you should go for a swim back to where you came from." The shove is forceful enough that Amara has to catch herself on the railing, the ocean churning 30 feet below. For a brief moment, genuine danger flashes in her eyes as combat instincts nearly engage, reflexes that have neutralized actual threats in war zones. A crew member with a drinks tray witnesses the assault from the doorway but freezes, clearly afraid to intervene against Vanessa. Amara regains her composure with the discipline of someone who has faced real danger. When she speaks, her voice carries deadly calm. "You have exactly 5 seconds to remove your hands from my person." Vanessa smirks, tightening her grip instead. "Or what? No one's going to believe anything you say against me." The night air hangs heavy with tension as Vanessa's fingers dig deeper into Amara's arm. The ocean's rhythm below forms a backdrop to this pivotal moment, a crossroads where paths irrevocably change. Amara looks down at Vanessa's manicured hand, then back to her face. With a single fluid movement, economical, precise, and clearly professional, she removes Vanessa's grip using a joint manipulation technique taught to Marines for close-quarter combat situations. Vanessa gasps at the sudden reversal, stumbling back a step. "That was assault, Ms. Hargrove," Amara states evenly. "And attempted battery." Vanessa recovers quickly, straightening her designer dress with a dismissive laugh. "Who do you think they'll believe? I'm a platinum member. You're nobody." "Actually," comes a voice from behind them, "Lieutenant Colonel Brooks is quite someone." Captain Winters stands in the doorway, flanked by the first officer and head of security. Their expressions convey that the situation has fundamentally shifted. Vanessa turns, confusion crossing her face. "Lieutenant what?" Amara assumes the stance that comes naturally after 15 years of service, shoulders squared, chin level, the unmistakable bearing of command presence. She reaches beneath her blouse, pulling out her dog tags. "Lieutenant Colonel Amara Brooks, United States Marine Corps, currently on leave." The metal catches the deck lights as she lets the tags rest visibly against her clothing. "Also Brooks, as in Brooks International Holdings." The captain steps forward, clearly uncomfortable. "Ms. Hargrove, Lieutenant Colonel Brooks is the daughter of Nathan Brooks, our CEO." Vanessa's face drains of color as comprehension dawns. You can't be." "I'm also a major shareholder conducting an undercover evaluation of passenger experience and staff response to incidents," Amara continues, her voice level and authoritative. "Including multiple instances of racial discrimination and now assault." The head of security, a former military man himself judging by his bearing, addresses Vanessa directly. "Miss Hargrove, we have surveillance footage of your assault just now, and Lieutenant Colonel Brooks has provided recordings of previous incidents." Vanessa's composure fractures. Her voice rises an octave. "This is ridiculous. I was just playing around. She's been hostile since day one." "Playing around?" Amara repeats calmly, retrieving her phone. She taps the screen, and Vanessa's voice fills the night air, crystal clear. "These stowaways are getting bolder every cruise." Another tap, Maybe you should go for a swim back to where you came from. Vanessa attempts to interrupt, but Amara raises her hand slightly, a gesture that stops words mid-formation, the instinctive authority of a commanding officer. Captain, Amara says, turning to Winters, I believe this situation requires immediate action. The captain nods, his professional demeanor finally matching the gravity of the situation. Ms. Hargrove, we'll need you to return to your cabin while we process this situation. Your keycard privileges are temporarily suspended. You can't do that. Do you know how much money we spend with this cruise line? Vanessa's indignation shatters against the impassive expression surrounding her. Ma'am, please don't make this more difficult, the head of security says firmly. 2 security officers appear, ready to escort her. As Vanessa is led away, her protests echo down the corridor, diminishing with distance. Amara turns to the captain, her expression shifting from contained patience to focused determination. I want to see all discrimination complaints filed on this ship for the past year. And I want to know why your staff repeatedly failed to intervene in textbook cases of harassment. Captain Winters stammers, Ms. Brooks, Lieutenant Colonel, I assure you we take these matters very seriously. Actions demonstrate priorities, Captain, not assurances, Amara interrupts. I've observed multiple crew members witnessing discriminatory behavior and choosing not to act. That's not a coincidence, it's culture. The first officer shifts uncomfortably as Amara continues. This isn't just about me. This is a systemic failure that affects your crew and your guests. And it ends now. In her words lies the echo of countless mission briefings, of decisions made under fire, of leadership when stakes were life and death. Brief flashbacks reveal crew members who witnessed Vanessa's behavior but felt powerless to act. The young pool attendant who looked away when Amara's book was ruined. Officer Taylor, torn between duty and pleasing a high-value guest. The bartender who heard Vanessa's slurs but continued polishing glasses. We'll need to convene an emergency meeting with all department heads, Amara directs. And I'll need access to all relevant records and policies. The captain nods, authority shifting visibly as Amara takes command of the situation. Of course. Right away. In her suite, Vanessa frantically calls her attorney while Thomas packs their belongings, whispering, I told you this would backfire someday. The Oceanic Splendor's executive conference room transforms into Command Central by morning. Amara stands at the head of the table, addressing the assembled senior staff with calm authority. Let's be clear, she states, this isn't a witch hunt, it's a system correction. On display screens, metrics tell a damning story. Discrimination complaints filed but marked resolved without action. Staff reports categorized by the status level of the accused. Incidents where crew interventions were overruled by management concerned about guest satisfaction. The data shows a clear pattern, Amara continues, highlighting key statistics. Complaints against premium guests are 83% less likely to result in corrective action. That's not coincidence. That's policy, whether written or unwritten. The hotel director clears his throat. With respect, Ms. Brooks, premium guests represent... Lieutenant Colonel, Amara corrects calmly. And enabling discrimination isn't just morally wrong, it's a business liability that will cost millions when the inevitable lawsuit arrives. Meanwhile, Vanessa paces her suite like a caged animal. Her keycard has been reprogrammed to restrict access to premium areas. Her phone displays "call failed" repeatedly as she attempts to reach various contacts. This is outrageous, she fumes to Thomas. Do they know who we are? Apparently they know exactly who you are, Thomas responds quietly. And who she is. A knock interrupts them. A woman in a tailored suit stands outside, flanked by 2 similarly dressed men. Mrs. Hargrove, I'm Elise Nakamura, lead counsel for Brooks International Holdings. She extends a business card. We need to discuss the events of the past 3 days and their legal implications. Across the ship, Amara conducts interviews with crew members. Their stories form a pattern. Fear of reprisal for enforcing rules against high-value guests. Confusion about discrimination protocols. Pressure to prioritize reviews over welfare. A black steward named Devon speaks with visible emotion. Last month, a guest in the Admiral's suite called me a... He pauses. He used racial slurs because I knocked too softly with breakfast. I reported it. And what happened? Amara asks. I was reassigned. The guest received complimentary champagne for the inconvenience of having a new steward. By afternoon, Nathan Brooks arrives via helicopter. Despite his corporate position, his embrace with Amara is that of a concerned father first, CEO second. You could have called me immediately, he says, and missed the opportunity to document systemic issues? Amara responds with a slight smile. Mom taught me better. Together, they convene an emergency session with the executive team. Nathan's anger is controlled but palpable as he reviews Amara's evidence. This stops today, he announces. Not just with one passenger, but with the entire operational approach. In their suite, Vanessa and Thomas face the legal team across a table. Mrs. Hargrove, the evidence against you is substantial, Nakamura explains. Surveillance footage shows you assaulting Lieutenant Colonel Brooks. Audio recordings document multiple instances of discriminatory language. Witness statements corroborate targeted harassment. It wasn't like that, Vanessa protests weakly. You attempted to push her overboard, Nakamura states flatly. Your exact words were, maybe you should go for a swim back to where you came from. That constitutes attempted battery at minimum, with potential hate crime enhancements. Thomas places a restraining hand on Vanessa's arm. What options do we have? Lieutenant Colonel Brooks has authorized 2 paths forward, Nakamura responds. First, criminal charges upon docking, civil litigation, and a permanent ban from all Brooks International properties worldwide. Vanessa's breathing accelerates. Second, a binding non-disclosure agreement, mandatory anti-discrimination training, a public apology to affected staff, and financial restitution to the Brooks Foundation for Inclusive Hospitality. How much? Thomas asks immediately. Nakamura names a figure that causes Vanessa to gasp. That's extortion! That's approximately 1/10 of potential civil damages, Nakamura corrects. Lieutenant Colonel Brooks isn't interested in your money. She's interested in accountability and systemic change. Meanwhile, Amara holds an all-hands meeting with the crew. Over 300 staff members gather in the main theater. Some of you witnessed what happened over the past few days, she begins. Others have experienced similar situations. Today, I'm speaking as someone who has led teams under life-or-death pressure, where the culture you create determines whether people survive. She steps away from the podium to stand directly before them. Every person on this ship deserves respect. That's not negotiable. Not based on the uniform you wear, the language you speak, or the color of your skin. Murmurs of agreement ripple through the audience. Starting today, new policies take effect, Amara continues. Zero tolerance for discriminatory behavior regardless of guest status. Clear escalation procedures for VIP incidents. An anonymous reporting system protecting staff from retaliation. And mandatory anti-discrimination training. She pauses, making eye contact throughout the room. But policies are just words without cultural change. That starts with each of you knowing that when you uphold these standards, this company will back you completely. A young woman raises her hand. What about guests who threaten our jobs if we don't bend rules? It happens all the time. Any guest who threatens staff employment receives 1 warning, Amara answers. A second incident results in restricted privileges. A third means disembarkation at the next port at their expense. As implementation begins, Vanessa attempts damage control, proposing a substantial donation to charity in exchange for putting this misunderstanding behind us. This isn't about money, Amara responds firmly. It's about accountability and changing a culture that enabled your behavior. Everyone has bad moments, Vanessa counters. Your actions were not momentary lapses, Amara states. They were repeated, escalating instances of targeted harassment culminating in physical assault. Those aren't bad moments, Ms. Hargrove. They're revealing ones. Nathan adds quietly, The damage to your reputation isn't our doing, Mrs. Hargrove. It's yours. Transformations ripple through the ship by evening. New signage appears in public areas stating anti-discrimination policies. Staff conduct refresher training on intervention protocols. Passengers receive communications about community standards and consequences. Amara observes these changes from the bridge. Captain Winters looks simultaneously exhausted and relieved beside her. You could have revealed your identity immediately, he notes. Saved yourself the trouble. And missed seeing how this ship really operates? Amara shakes her head. The point wasn't to catch one passenger's bad behavior. It was to expose the systems that enable it. As the cruise's final day dawns, Vanessa receives formal notice. Her membership in the cruise line's elite program has been permanently revoked. She will be escorted off the ship by port authorities when they dock the following morning. As the ship approaches its final port, Vanessa stares at her phone in horror as notifications begin appearing. Friends and connections already distancing themselves from the brewing scandal. Morning light bathes the oceanic splendor as it approaches San Juan Harbor. Port authorities wait on the dock, their official vehicle visible even from the ship's upper decks. For most passengers, this represents another day of vacation. For Vanessa Hargrove, it marks the end of more than just a cruise. In the captain's office, final proceedings unfold with somber efficiency. Amara sits beside her father and the cruise line's legal team as Vanessa and Thomas are escorted in by security. Gone is Vanessa's imperious demeanor, replaced by the careful blankness of someone recognizing the precipice before them. Mrs. Hargrove, Captain Winters begins formally, in accordance with maritime regulations and company policy, this hearing will determine the final resolution regarding the incidents of harassment, discrimination, and assault documented over the past 4 days. The proceedings continue with methodical precision. Security footage plays on wall monitors. Vanessa deliberately spilling a drink on Amara's book. The elevator confrontation. The physical altercation at the railing with its clear danger. Throughout the evidence presentation, Vanessa's expression cycles between defiance and fear. When given opportunity to respond, her voice lacks its former confidence. I acknowledge that my behavior was inappropriate, she concedes reluctantly. But I never intended. Intent doesn't negate impact, Amara interjects quietly, particularly when actions are repeated after consequences are made clear. Nathan Brooks, who has observed silently until now, addresses the captain rather than Vanessa. What concerns me most is how readily staff accepted this behavior as normal. That speaks to systemic issues beyond any individual passenger. The cruise executives shift uncomfortably in their seats. Meanwhile, Vanessa's phone buzzes continuously with notifications. During a brief recess, she checks the screen to find her social media flooded with messages. News of the incident has begun circulating through her exclusive social circles, with predictable results. A text from her country club. Emergency board meeting regarding your membership status. An email from a charity foundation. Temporary suspension from board duties pending review. A message from her closest friend. Need to distance myself until this blows over. Sorry, V. When proceedings resume, the formal consequences are outlined. Permanent ban from all Brooks International properties, mandatory completion of anti-discrimination training before the criminal complaint will be withdrawn, financial settlement to cover legal costs and contributions to crew welfare programs. Your belongings have been packed by female security staff, the head of security informs her. You'll be escorted to port authorities who will process the assault complaint according to Puerto Rican law. As reality settles over her, Vanessa attempts one final approach. She turns directly to Amara, her voice lowered to seem intimate, reasonable. I had no idea who you were, she pleads. If I'd known... That's precisely the problem, Amara interrupts, her voice level but intensity burning in her eyes. You shouldn't need to know someone's status to treat them with basic human dignity. The fact that you're only sorry because of who I am tells me everything I need to know about your character. The words land with precision, striking at the foundation of Vanessa's worldview. For perhaps the first time, she has no ready response. As security prepares to escort the Hargroves from the ship, Thomas addresses Amara directly, his wife temporarily forgotten. "For what it's worth, Lieutenant Colonel, I apologize for not intervening. My silence made me complicit." Amara regards him thoughtfully. "Recognition is the first step toward change, Mr. Hargrove. What matters is what you do next." The Hargroves' departure creates a subtle ripple through the ship. Passengers whisper behind hands as they're escorted to the gangway. Crew members exchange glances that communicate volumes. Something fundamental has shifted in the power dynamics they've long accepted as immutable. At the security checkpoint, Vanessa's final glance back at the ship carries the dawning recognition that her carefully constructed social position was built on foundations far more fragile than she ever realized. Watching from the bridge, Amara observes the couple's diminishing figures with no satisfaction, only the solemn acknowledgement of necessary consequences. As she turns to leave, a young black crew member approaches hesitantly. His name tag identifies him as Devin Carter, the steward who was reassigned after reporting discrimination. "Lieutenant Colonel," he begins, voice strengthening with each word. "Can I speak with you about some other incidents that have happened?" In Devin's outstretched hand is a thumb drive labeled Crew Testimonials. Dozens of documented cases spanning years of systematic discrimination aboard the fleet. 1 week after the Oceanic Splendor docks, Amara stands before the Brooks International Board of Directors in their Manhattan headquarters. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the city skyline, but all attention focuses on the presentation unfolding with military precision. "This isn't isolated to one ship or one passenger," Amara explains, gesturing to data visualizations displaying patterns of reported incidents across the fleet. "It's a culture problem that requires systemic change." So, board members shift in Italian leather chairs as Amara advances to the next slide. Testimonials from crew members representing 12 nationalities, each describing similar experiences of harassment without recourse. "The Hargrove incident simply made visible what has been occurring beneath the surface for years," she continues. "Our staff face impossible choices between enforcing policies and pleasing high-value guests. Our passengers experience discrimination that goes unaddressed, and our company bears increasing liability with each documented case." Several board members exchange glances, their expressions revealing the calculus of risk assessment versus operational disruption. "Comprehensive overhauls are expensive and disruptive," offers the CFO, a silver-haired man whose tenure predates the Brooks acquisition. "Our quarterly projections already show headwinds from fuel costs and competitive pricing." Amara nods, acknowledging the concern while maintaining eye contact. "Which is why I've prepared this financial analysis." The next slides transform the discussion from moral imperative to business necessity. Charts detail the costs of discrimination, from talent attrition to reduced customer loyalty among minority passengers who represent a growing market segment worth billions. 28% of our crew turnover is directly attributable to hostile work environments, Amara notes. Each replacement costs approximately $8,500 in recruitment and training. That's $14.2 million annually in avoidable expenses. The data continues. Reduced repeat bookings from passengers who witnessed discriminatory incidents. Legal settlements paid confidentially over the past decade. Projected market share growth among diverse demographics if satisfaction metrics improve. Nathan Brooks, seated at the head of the table, watches his daughter with understated pride. When the presentation concludes, he addresses the board directly. Lieutenant Colonel Brooks has identified both a moral and financial imperative for change. I propose establishing a passenger experience and inclusion initiative with real authority and resources. He pauses, making eye contact with each board member, with Amara at its head. And within days, changes begin manifesting throughout the Brooks Cruise Line's operation. New training programs roll out fleet-wide, with specialized modules for staff who interact directly with VIP guests. Marketing materials undergo revision, featuring diverse passengers in luxury settings rather than relegating minority faces to staff positions or background scenes. Clear codes of conduct appear prominently in booking materials and onboard signage, emphasizing that premium status doesn't exempt guests from basic standards of behavior. Amara personally oversees the implementation of a confidential reporting system for both staff and guests, with direct escalation paths that bypass potentially compromised supervisors. Industry publications take notice of the changes. A headline in Travel Weekly reads, "Brooks International sets new standard for inclusion at sea." Competing cruise lines begin quietly reviewing their own policies as market analysts predict shifts in consumer preferences toward brands perceived as equitable and socially conscious. Addressing the executive team, Amara draws on her military experience in organizational transformation. "Rules without values are just words on paper," she tells them. "Our challenge isn't just changing policies, it's changing hearts and minds at every level of operation." 3 months later, Amara receives an email with the subject line, "Your reforms saved my career and possibly my life. 6 months transformed the oceanic splendor." Beyond physical renovations, updated interiors, and technology upgrades, an invisible but palpable change permeates the vessel. It manifests in straightened shoulders of crew members who no longer flinch when reporting incidents, in the diversity of passengers enjoying premium spaces, in the atmosphere of mutual respect that has become the ship's new normal. Amara Brooks stands on the observation deck as the ship prepares for its rededication ceremony. Her marine dress blues gleam in the Caribbean sunlight, ribbons and insignia telling the story of her service to country, now paralleled by service to a different kind of transformation. "Lieutenant Colonel Brooks," a voice calls from behind. She turns to find Devon Carter approaching, his previous hesitance replaced by confident professionalism. His name tag now reads Passenger Experience Advocate, one of 12 such positions created fleet-wide under Amara's initiative. "The ceremony begins in 20 minutes, he informs her. "Captain Winters asked if you'd like to review your remarks one final time." "Thank you, Devon. How are things progressing with the implementation on the Western Fleet?" Pride infuses his response. "The reporting system went live last week. We've already documented 17 incidents that would have previously gone unaddressed." He pauses, then adds, "When people know there will be consequences regardless of their status, they behave better." Amara nods, recognizing her own words reflected back. "And those who don't are enjoying their vacations from other cruise lines," Devon answers with a measured smile. The ceremony unfolds on the main deck, attended by crew, current passengers, media, and corporate leadership. Captain Winters, whose initial reluctance has evolved into committed partnership, introduces Amara with genuine respect. She approaches the podium, her military bearing evident as she addresses the gathering without notes. "In the Marines, we're taught that leadership means protecting those under your command and holding everyone to the same standard regardless of rank. The same principles apply here." Her voice carries across the assembled crowd. "Excellence isn't just about luxury amenities or destination ports. It's about creating an environment where every person, guest and crew alike, can experience the journey with dignity." Later, as sunset paints the ocean in amber hues, Amara stands alone at the railing where Vanessa Hargrove once tried to intimidate her. The irony isn't lost on her as she fingers the ring hanging from her necklace. "She would have loved seeing this," Nathan Brooks says, joining his daughter at the railing. Her mother, one of the first black female executives in the cruise industry, had faced barriers that make Vanessa Hargrove's behavior seem almost quaint by comparison. She helped design the original Splendor, Amara remembers, but never sailed on it. "The industry wasn't ready for her then," Nathan acknowledges. "She changed what she could from the inside." They stand in companionable silence, watching the ocean's endless movement. Finally, Nathan asks, "Was it worth it? Everything that happened with Hargrove?" "Every moment," Amara replies without hesitation. "Not for what happened to her, but for what's happening here." She gestures toward the ship where diverse passengers and crew interact with newfound respect. subtle but unmistakable shifts in behavior, language, and attitude that signal deeper change. I heard her lawsuit was dismissed, Nathan mentions. She's become something of a pariah in those social circles she valued so highly. That wasn't my intention, Amara says quietly. But consequences have their own momentum. As night settles over the ship, stars emerging in the vast Caribbean sky, Amara reflects on the journey that brought her here. From combat zones to corporate boardrooms, different battlefields with the same essential mission, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The moral emerges not in grand pronouncements, but in the quiet realization that has guided her life. True power isn't in your title or your wealth. It's in how you use your position to create positive change for others. Around her, the oceanic splendor continues its journey through darkened waters, its course corrected toward a more just horizon. If you've enjoyed this story of justice and accountability, don't miss out on more powerful narratives, just like this one. Beat Stories brings you the most satisfying tales of karma and justice served where it's deserved. Hit that subscribe button right now to join our community of justice lovers. Each subscription helps us create more of the content you crave, stories where the underestimated rise and the entitled fall. Like this video to tell our algorithm you want more stories just like Amara's. Each like helps these stories reach others who need to hear them.
Behind every headline is a human story. At Beat Stories, we go deeper, where emotion meets evidence and drama reveals the system. If this story made you pause, reflect, or feel something, don't forget to subscribe. There's more to come.